Just starting recording. Just wait a couple minutes for people to sign in. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody. If you're watching this live or if you're watching the recording, I welcome you as part of our IU, our tribe. And I thank you so much for coming and allowing me to present this information. The topic today is you are the author, not the story. And so what does that mean? And we're going to dive into that. And I welcome any questions or interaction during the live stream here, and I'll do my best to answer the questions as they come in. So when you think about transformation and the things in your life that you want to change that aren't working for you, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, the common element there is you, right? And so the common problem or the common challenge that people have is we tend to think in very isolated terms about a problem or a challenge. I'll give you an example for a physical challenge that I went through with chronic pain from a car accident. 2011, I had 12 discs in my back that were herniated or otherwise injured. And I went, like most people do, to the emergency room, and from there was referred to treating physicians and pain clinics and all those kinds of things that we do in the Western medicine world. And I was buying the story that I was hearing from the doctors about the damage to my back the whole time. And what I realized after going through this, frankly, circus for a few years was that by buying this story and listening to what they were telling me and treating myself with drugs, I was giving myself a quality of life that wasn't sustainable, wasn't desirable, right? So I went through a period where I actually contemplated suicide because I was in so much pain that I thought day to day, what is my life worth? And I know a lot of people have gone through this, not just with physical pain, but emotional pain, abusive relationships, a lot of things like that. And now looking back so many years later, I realized that my biggest obstacle was the story that I was telling myself about the reasons why I was experiencing what I was experiencing, and buying into the story that the mainstream medical doctors were telling me many of whom were very well meaning. They were just giving me the standard of care that had been established for my type of injury. I'm not blaming them. I'm saying there's more information out there. And your perception of your experience is what causes the suffering. Pain is inevitable. We all experience pain. But suffering is optional. It's based on our perception. And this is something the Dalai Lama said. I'm paraphrasing him, but he said something very similar, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And I didn't really understand that at the time when I read it in his book many years ago, but I sure understand it now. At least I think I do. I'm more embodied with that concept. So what does that all mean in practical terms? What it all means is there are bodies of knowledge and information and people out there, me included, that have techniques that you can use to help you overcome these challenges. But the first thing is to realize that none of these challenges, again, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, none of these things happen in a vacuum, right? So my personal beliefs and the lineage of shamanism from the Andes, the Q'ero people, believe that they call this life that we're living the great game. And there's a way to play it and be successful as a human. I'm not talking about financial success or any material reflection of success. That's all illusionary. It can actually be a trap for our awareness. Not that we can't experience abundance in that way, but often chasing it takes us away from the real challenges that we have in our life. And we put all of our stock in external measures of achievement. But anyway, getting back to the great game, the idea behind this is there are operating principles in the universe. And one of them is that spirit will place challenges in your path to give you opportunities to learn and transform. That's why they're happening, right? And so unless we wake up to the fact that that's what's happening, we'll get the same lesson again and again and again. We have to understand that the dynamic of providing us the lesson is what we have to, I guess, get into the flow with, right? Now, what we do with that is completely up to our free will. We either get it or we don't. And I can tell you from my personal experience that when I've not listened, I get the same message over and over again. And unfortunately, another part of that operating principle is it gets more and more severe if you don't listen. To the tune of, I've had 5 near-death experiences in my life. And the most recent one was in 2015. And I know now that it was because I wasn't listening. And it took me a long time to wake up, like it does to most people. I'm hearing from my audience here that their audio isn't working, and I apologize for that. See if I can get you unmuted here.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing you, Laura.
Okay, so, fuck me.
So just pipe in, and Dondi, I made you the co-host, so you can help me answer questions. So what I'm about to do now is, because I want this to be valuable and practical for you, I want to go into some techniques to show how you are the author and not the story, right? The story that you tell yourself often becomes associated with your identity, your self-perception of who you are. And that can be very dangerous, especially if you're telling yourself something that is either physically, emotionally, or spiritually unsafe and not for your ultimate good, your highest good, or your continued development as a human being on this planet. So one of the things that I learned that's incredibly valuable from the shamanic training is the concept of the medicine wheel. And the medicine wheel is a concept that's not limited to the Q'ero shamans in Peru. It's something that transcends continents and actually is in cultures that supposedly never had any contact with each other. But that's a whole other story. I'm not going to go there today. I want to focus on the practical. So the idea behind the medicine wheel, in my view, my opinion, is it's a way to perceive the universe. And it's in very simple terms, in directions we all can relate to. We start in the south in Andean cosmology, we go to the west, then we go to the north, then we go to the east, and then we go to the earth, and then we go to the sky and the stars. So I'm going to take you through that, and I'm going to say the words so that you hear them. And then I'm going to kind of break down how you can use this in real life. Okay, so let's start. Winds of the South, Jaguar, Otorongo, Mother Sister, come into our medicine space. Show us the way beyond death. Show us how to cross the rainbow bridge. Show us how to be impeccable. And show us how to have no enemies. Come, Mother Sister Jaguar, come. Help us, heal us, lend us your power. Aho. Winds of the South, Sachamama, golden, luminous serpent. Show us the way, show us the beauty way, the way to walk close to the earth, belly to belly like you do. Show us how to shed our past like you shed your skin. Ampwe, come into our medicine space. Sachamama, come, great serpent. Aho. Winds of the North. Hummingbird, ancestors. Ancestors, come and warm your hands by our fire. Come and whisper your stories in our ear. Hummingbird, show us how to drink only the sweet nectar of life. Show us how to have stillness even in flight. Come into our medicine space. Aho. Winds of the East, eagle, condor. Come to us, you who fly from the land of the rising sun, beyond the furthest mountains, you who fly wingtip to wingtip with the Creator. Enfold us in your wings. Show us the true sight. You fly high above and you see everything as it truly is, and you also see everything that's right in front of you. Come, great eagle, condor. Aho. Mother Earth, Pachamama, bring all of our relations together for healing. The plant people, the stone people, the finned, the furred, the hooved, the winged, the creepy crawlers, all of the seen and unseen. Pachamama, come and help us, guide us, heal us. Aho. Father Sky, Inti Taita, Mother Moon, Mama Kia, all the star nations, star brothers and star sisters. Come. Give us your wisdom, your love, and your light. Help us, come into our medicine space. Aho. So the blessings and the order are significant because they give us an idea of how this cosmology kind of came about and what it's used for today. And I know I did the first two directions backwards, and that happens sometimes. Actually, it's really interesting because part of it is what you're feeling in the moment and you're guided differently. And I've experienced that a few times. So it's not all a mental thing. Sometimes it's energetic and you're responding to the energy. I wanted to do it in order, so you got it in order, but everything happens for a reason. So there it is. So starting with the South, I almost did it again. Starting with the South, Sachamama, the serpent, right? In Western mythology, the serpent is bad, right? The serpent is the devil or the one that grants forbidden knowledge in the Garden of Eden. But in Andean cosmology, we were never kicked out of the garden. We're the caretakers of the garden, and we're in harmony with it, ideally, right? So get the Western Judeo-Christian myth out of your mind or set it aside for a moment, because the serpent to the Indian people, the Q'ero, represents being as close to the earth as you can, right? That's what a snake does. It slithers along the ground. And it's also very flexible. And it also sheds its skin all at once. And so what we ask is a blessing to learn to shed our past, like you shed your skin, Sachamama, and wrap us in your coils, support us, right? So the south direction is all about the body, the physical connection to the earth and being in harmony in your body. So I'm going to take an issue around the wheel in a minute, but I want to kind of explain each one real quickly. So when we go to the west, we went from the body in the south. The west, we're going to thinking and feeling. That's jaguar. You know, think about a jaguar. It has no enemies. It's at the top of the food chain. It's very focused, especially the mama jaguar, on her litter and keeping her kits safe. And the papa jaguar is the one that ranges a long way around to find food, but they're in total harmony with each other. And they have no fear. They go wherever they want in the jungle to do whatever they want. And what we learn from the jaguar is to be in harmony in our thinking and feeling and to face our fear, right? And then in the north, we have hummingbird, and it's also the direction of our ancestors. So the hummingbird is a really powerful thing. And we went from body to thinking and feeling. Now we're transcending into the spiritual realm with the hummingbird. And what the hummingbird does, think about it. It's got tiny little wings and a tiny little heart, and it can't eat much food all at once. And yet it migrates every year from South America to Canada. And it doesn't stop on its journey and say, I'm too tired. I don't have enough food. I don't have enough money. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not fit enough. It doesn't tell itself these things. It just does it anyway. And so what the hummingbird is about is writing a new mythic map for our lives and calling in our destiny. Very powerful, right? This tiny little creature has so much power and so many things to show us for our lessons. And the other thing that we say when we call in the directions is the hummingbird is drinking only the sweet nectar of life, right? The hummingbird represents happiness and joy in the moment. Then we go to the east, and the eagle and the condor, there's a reason there's two there, and I'll explain that in a second. So the condor in Indian mythology, think about what it does. It glides on these high winds, and it can see for miles. It has one of the best visions of any creatures on the planet. But it also, since it's a predator, it can see everything and it's aware of everything around it at all times. Eagle, very similar, more of a North American mythology. There's a Caro legend of when the new earth comes and a new age of harmony comes, the eagle and the condor fly together. And that's why we say eagle condor, because we're in that time where the eagle and the condor are flying together. So what the eagle and the condor show us in our lives is, I talked last week about the witness and engaging the witness in your life, this dispassionate observer that's part of your consciousness. That's kind of what the eagle is doing. It's looking and seeing everything as it truly is. So it doesn't get all wrapped up in emotional turmoil when it sees something. It just sees it, right? The emotional turmoil part is really more the jaguar's realm. So you can start to see how we use these things together. So once we are complete with the east, then we go to Pachamama. And Pachamama tells us about our relationship to all of the living things that we're exposed to, including her. She's alive. In Western culture, especially Western commercial culture, we tend to think of Pachamama as a thing, not a living being. But I can tell you that Pachamama is alive, and everything that we interact with, creatures, we're all alive. And what the Pacos, the shamans in the Andes believe is that humans, we are the caretakers of Pachamama, and she's the caretaker of us. And so if we break that relationship, we're out of harmony, what they call Ayni, A-Y-N-I. Ayni encompasses the concept of harmony and reciprocity. And it's beautiful. It doesn't translate directly into either of those words, but it encompasses both. And if we are in Ayni with Pachamama, in Ayni, in harmony with the earth, then we are grounded and our energy is being shared with her and her energy is being shared with us. And there are some amazing techniques for being grounded emotionally, spiritually, physically, that really helps you get through these challenges. And we can talk more about that. So once we go to Pachamama, then we go to Father Sky, Mother Moon, Inti Taita, the light. It's all about the light. And we are beings of light. We are spiritual beings that are having a physical experience. And connecting with Father Sky and Mother Moon is kind of the masculine and feminine aspect of our spirit, our soul in perfect balance and perfect harmony. And we also call out our connection to the star nations, our star brothers and star sisters. Whatever you believe about whether we're alone in the universe or not, the Indian people don't believe that we're alone in the universe, that we came from the stars, and kind of in a way the stars came from us. We're all connected in that way. And so the sky and the moon are the mother and father of our soul and our spirit, like our spiritual parents in a way. And the more we can connect that, the more that kind of pulls us out of our primal existence into our spiritual existence. So, a lot of information I just threw at you, and I apologize if it was a lot, but I just kind of wanted to lay a foundation for the practical use of that knowledge. And one of the ways that I use it quite often is I take an issue that I'm being challenged with, and I take it around the medicine wheel in each direction. Let me show you how that works. So let's say, trying to think of something that I actually experienced to make it real. So let's say I'm not happy with how much I weigh. I know that I'm unhealthy and I want to change that. So I take that to the south first, to Sachamama, the serpent, which is about the body. And what is the body telling me? Well, the body is telling me, yes, you're out of balance. You're not in balance with yourself. You're not in balance around with the people around you or the earth. Find balance. I think that's what Sachamama told me. And it wasn't, you notice the language. It wasn't about, you need to go on a diet, you need to go exercise. No, that's not the kind of thing that Sachamama would say. She says, you're out of balance. Find balance. Find a way to be in balance, right? So then I take that same issue to the west, to the jaguar. And the jaguar is about facing your fear. And what I realized in taking the issue to the jaguar was that I had started to incorporate elements of my identity into the story of being overweight. So who am I if I am not that? And fear comes up, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of the possibilities, fear of the anguish and suffering involved with losing weight using traditional methods. I apologize for the noise outside if you guys are picking that up. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go. Hopefully that's better. So the fear of taking on a new identity or embracing a new destiny, all that fear that comes up. It's going to be really hard. I don't know what to eat. There's fear of the unknown. I don't know how to exercise. I don't know. I'm afraid. That's what Jaguar helps you face. Then you take that up to the north. Now we're getting out of the body and the thinking and feeling. And most people are stuck there. They're stuck in the thinking and feeling in the body, and they go back and forth, and they never break out of that cycle. But by taking this up to the north with our ancestors and Hummingbird tells us there is a destiny that you can step into where you are already healed. There is a mythic map to your life, and you're in one right now. But guess what? You can create a new one, and you can create any one you want. That's what Hummingbird tells us. Super empowering, right? So just by taking that issue through the medicine wheel and getting different perspectives on it, right? Then I take it to the east. And the eagle tells me, and the condor tells me, everything as it really is. And one of those realities is that everything is energy. The body is a reflection of the spirit. And so I was said up front in the talk that a lot of us try to isolate problems. Oh, I'm overweight, I need to diet, I need to exercise. Well, that might work for a lot of people. It might work temporarily. But how often do you hear that, yeah, I lost a lot of weight and then I put it all back on? Well, going through the medicine wheel to explain that, it would be about, well, the fact that you're out of balance and you have all this fear and you're still running the same program, the same mythic map. And then you get to Eagle, and Eagle's telling you everything is energy. So by not addressing the energy, then you're not really addressing the body. So all of these things together are what have to happen for you to make a transformational change. Then we get to the earth, and our mother, is all about supporting us and loving us unconditionally. It doesn't matter well, it does matter, but she doesn't change her behavior based on all the horrible things that mankind as a whole is doing to the earth. Each of us individually can awaken to the fact that our mother, Pachamama, is there to support us and to heal us and to give us everything that we need. We have everything we need, everything that we need to eat, all the sunlight we need to have, all the experiences in nature that we need to have to connect. She's there. But most of us don't awaken to the fact that that's all there for us to experience. We just have to embrace it. And it helps if we give her back the love that she gives us. Then we're establishing Aini, remember, harmony and reciprocity. And that helps us transform, right? A lot of us, when we're in pain, no matter what the pain is, we isolate. We go into our room, we crawl into a ball. We don't want to talk to anybody. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me, right? It's an animal licking its wounds kind of syndrome. The problem with that is we're not physical animal beings. That's part of who we are, but it's not the whole story. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. But when we do that, we're ameliorating the physical at the expense of everything else. We have to have this holistic vision if we want to heal, if we want to transform. And last but not least, we get to Father Sky and Mother Moon. That represents our connection to everything that's not what we identify as us. And that's a whole other kind of direction and field of study, even in the Andean cosmology. But the simple connection to all that is, and all that is connection to us, takes us out of this everyday reality of, I got to get up, I got to go to work, I got to earn a paycheck, I got to eat, I got to feed the kids, I got bills to pay. Yeah, all that's true. But what makes it hard and what makes it drudgery is your perception of it, not the thing itself. So that's the story. The story creates the perception, right? And I love what Don Miguel Ruiz, if you're familiar with him, he's an amazing author, amazing shaman. And he wrote a series of books, The Four Agreements, The Fifth Agreement. And he and his family represent the modern evolution, I guess, of Toltec shamanism, old Mexico, ancient Mexico. And he talks about self-domestication. And I love that. I love that concept, right? It's like we are these luminous, powerful beings. We can manifest anything, any reality. And we see people doing it all the time, whether they're sports figures or billionaires, or that was what was important to them and they made it happen, right? And it's not about whether they got help on the way or what circumstances they were born into, because when you really dig into it, you'll see that their circumstances were all over the map, right? Some of them came from nothing, the most brutal kind of existence when they were growing up. Some of them came from affluence and everything in between. So you can't really draw a correlation there. What you can say is that they made what was important to them happen. So we know it's possible. And what I'm here to tell you today is that the same power that you use to tear yourself down, to tell yourself, I'm no good, I can't do it, I don't have enough money, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not thin enough, fit enough, whatever, fill in the blank. I can't do it because of that. Well, it didn't stop those people. And it doesn't have to stop you, because the same power that you're using to tell yourself those things can be used to tell yourself a new story that's completely in line with the destiny that you want to retrieve, right? It's the destiny you want to connect with. And I said it before, there's a version of you in this wild, complex universe that has already done this work, is already healed, and is already living in the manifestation of the perfect future that you want for yourself or you need for yourself. That person already exists. So you're not creating anything in this way of thinking. You're connecting with that version of yourself, and you're bringing that in, and you're embracing it, and you're saying, yeah, that's the me that I want to be. So that same power that all of us in our collective consciousness use to tear ourselves down, and unfortunately, programming from the outside reinforces that. Whether it's, media, I don't want to tear down religion, but a lot of religions teach you that your power is out here. It's outside of you, right? Give up your power because you're a sinner, you're not good enough. You have to give up everything to be saved,
5 a.m.
right? And what I'm telling you is that's an extremely limited interpretation of the scriptures, and it's also an extremely disempowering way to live when you have the power to enable yourself to do whatever you need to do to manifest the destiny that you want to manifest. So enough on that. I wanted to get back to this concept of self-domestication because it's related to this thing about disempowerment. And I'm paraphrasing, it's my interpretation of what Don Miguel Ruiz's message is about, is we domesticate ourselves. Now think about the process of domestication in terms of like a wild animal, or even how dogs and cats became domesticated over many, many generations. Is they started out wild. They started out extremely powerful and able to be in complete harmony with their environment. So are we. And we tear ourselves down and we tell ourselves, no, you're not in harmony. You have to do this. You have to be a wage slave, for example. You have to give up everything for your family and give nothing to yourself. You have to, right? And so the self-domestication is the most insidious part of what we buy into with the lifestyle that most of us have, especially in the West, where we think, oh, well, I have to pay the bills, so I have to have a job, so I have to make money, have to. You create this whole chain of things, right? And what I'm here to tell you is that the universe is in a constant state of generating abundance. And it's in a constant state of conspiring in your favor. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means if you're in a position in your life where you're not getting it and you need a lesson, that's what the universe is going to give you. And sometimes those lessons are brutal. I can tell you from personal experience, they're brutal. But if you are working on that and you're clearing this, we call it shadow work, a lot of us do. You're clearing these shadows, then the abundance can start to flow. That's very counterintuitive, right? Because we're all taught you have to go out and do it. You have to go out and make it, build it. And my experience, especially over the last year, has been unlearning a lot of that, especially as a man, a privileged white man in the Western world. We're always taught you've got to be the breadwinner and you got to have a career and get promoted through the corporate ladder and all these things, right? And if you do that, everything's going to be fine. Well, I know from my peers and from myself, that's very rarely the case. You follow the script, you do everything you're supposed to, and you're still profoundly miserable. You may have money, you may have achieved stuff, but maybe your relationships aren't great. Maybe your spouse is, maybe you've been through a couple of divorces. Maybe your kids don't really like talking to you or hang around with you. So what is the measure of success is the question, right? But what I'm telling you is it's in here. If you do the work and you start to clear things away, the abundance will flow. And the abundance will be what you need, not what you want, because your concept of what you want is going to change as you do this work. So what you need in that moment is what you will get. Now, the ultimate in harmony, in innate, in my view, is when what you want and what you need come together. And you're clear enough in your awareness and in your consciousness that you're in that flow, in that dynamic, and you say, yeah, I understand. Maybe I need a lesson here. Maybe I have work to do here. And you start to take accountability and responsibility for that. I didn't like the way I interacted with that person, or I wish I would have done that situation differently. Now you're getting it. Now you're starting to awaken to the fact that you have the power not only to change how you react from a reaction where you're just reacting emotionally to a response that's considered and it's something that's in your best interest. You start doing that, the abundance starts to flow. So this is a tough lesson, and this is one that I'm still learning, believe me, because I thought, oh, I got to go do. Alberto Villoldo calls it living in the land of do.
Also,
And this is what we're all taught is go do stuff, right? You'll be successful. And I think that doing can really get in our way sometimes. And the better response is just being, embodying what you want. And whatever that practice is, either meditation or shamanic journeying, there's lots of different ways to embody, right? Take in that concept of the person that you want to be. And don't worry so much about how. That's where we all get stuck. That's why there's a multi-billion-dollar self-help industry, because everybody wants the prescription. How do I change? You have it all in here. And it's about being and embodying and knowing, like I said, that version of you exists, and you just have to bring it in. And then the how takes care of itself. I can give you techniques. I give lots of people techniques. I guide them through this program I've created. It's called Total Mind, Body, Spirit Transformation. And it's a 3-month program. And it's really about going through the medicine wheel and learning a lot of practical tools about how to change the things that you really need to change in your life, and realizing how they're all connected, especially problems that have been following you for years, maybe even decades. And you've tried to do something about it, and for whatever reason, it's just not sticking, right? Well, my assertion is that it's because it's related. Mind, body, spirit, it's all related, right? You can't just say, I'm going to work on this one thing and I'm going to put this other stuff on the shelf and I'll get to it when I can. Super common, right? Compartmentalization, especially with emotional issues. We say, oh, that hurt me, and that's painful to think about, so I'm going to compartmentalize it. Guess what? It doesn't go away. It's still there. And if you neglect it for too long or in too many ways in your life, it starts leaking back into your life and making you react again, right? In the jaguar direction. We're reacting. We're in fear. We're in denial, all those things. And think about the pharmaceutical industry, the billions upon billions that are made on drugs. I understand in some interventional scenarios, those drugs are needed because a person is in a state where they're going to do self-harm or they're going to harm somebody else. I get that. But it's not a long-term solution. And most psychiatrists worth their salt would tell you the same thing. This isn't a long-term solution, it's interventional. But guess what? It becomes a long-term solution because that's all that's being offered. So those types of situations are really where you need to step back, engage the observer, like I talked about last week. Look at your life dispassionately. Look at your life holistically and say, yeah, okay, I see all those things are related. I see that my emotional eating, for example, is related to the fact that I had a horrible childhood and I, grew up in trauma, for example. Or maybe I was a war veteran and I saw and had to do horrible things that don't sit right with me. Or maybe I'm a first responder and I saved lives, but I also saw a lot of death and I took all that on. And I didn't really realize at the time that that's what was happening. I've worked with a lot of those types of people over the years. And so I've seen it firsthand that this is what happens. And then it manifests itself in the body and it manifests itself in the spirit because it disconnects you from all this power you have available to you to actually change things, right? It reflects outward from the wound, whatever that wound is. So I threw a lot at you, but I hope that I gave you some practical tools to think about the four directions. Take an issue in your life. This is your homework from this live stream. Take an issue in your life that you're still working on, that you're still not happy with how it works. Take it to the south. How does it feel in your body? How is it reflected in your body? Are you taking medication for it? That's body, right? How is it working or not working? How do you feel stuck? And what does that look like in your body? Take it to the jaguar. Are you afraid? Are you not facing the shadow? And what would it take and what would it look like for you to do that? And I'm not saying there's a silver bullet in what I do or what any one person does. What I'm saying is you have the power to figure out what you need to do to face that fear and to face that shadow and do the work. I believe that's why we're here, is to do that work. And guess what? When we do our work, it affects everyone around us, like ripples in a pond. I see it every day with my friends, with myself. It happens. And it's beneficial for everybody, for you to do your work, even if it might not seem like it at first, because you've got stuff to do. You've got to make money. You've got to feed people. You also need to do your work, because unless you do it, nothing's going to get better. Then take that to the hummingbird, to the north, and to your ancestors. Your ancestors are there to help you. Take that issue to the north, and the hummingbird is saying, what does healed look like? And what would it take for you to embrace that? And this gets into the story and the author, right? If you're telling yourself a story about how broken you are, and that becomes your identity, guess what? You need a new story. And that's what the hummingbird helps us with. Then you take it to the east, and the eagle is always there to show us, what does this really look like? And what's right in front of you? What does it all look like holistically? And then how is this right in front of you? What's in your way? And the eagle will tell you. Then you have Pachamama there, Mother Earth, always supporting, always healing. I can tell you, isolating yourself in a dark room and trying to shut off the world, it's not a long-term strategy. Go in nature. Go put your bare feet on the earth. Go stand in the water. Go feel a stream running over your body. All of these types of things. There is scientific evidence, even aside from the spiritual, of the benefits of earthing and exchanging ions with Mother Earth, and how beneficial it is for your circulation, for your lymphatic system. So it's like on multiple levels, connecting with the earth, right? The benefits. And then finally, last but not least, you're doing all this, your connection to spirit opens exponentially. Spirit will see you doing your work. Awesome. We're so happy. We're going to start giving you other things for you to experience and deal with. Right? So, deep breath. Take a deep breath. That was a lot. So, I encourage you, if you feel called to send me a direct message. I would be happy to hear from you. I can tell you more about my program. I can talk to you more about any of these things. And we can determine if, working together makes sense. It will in some cases, and won't in others, and that's totally fine. But I really want to make a connection with you because I feel like Spirit puts us all in each other's path for a reason. And I'm honored to be in your path today and to present this information. And I wish you the best. I wish you nothing but love and light. And I hope that we can connect in the future and explore what your particular challenges are. And I love you, and I wish the best for you. Thank you.